Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Mr. Freeze. Victor Freeze. You know, just in case you didn't know. And this one, I'm a little bit confused by, because as far as I remember, and I did some basic Googling to see if I was right, this is not a particular design for Mr. Freeze. This is some kind of generic look for him that McFarlane Toys came up with, as far as I can tell. So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Is this a look? It's kind of based on a more classic look for him, but it's not one that I'm familiar with, so let me know about that. But that doesn't mean it's a bad figure necessarily, and most people probably don't care if it's a new look because he's had a million looks anyway, so we'll see about that. Is the figure any good? That's the question. Let's get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands to the top of his head about 7 3/8, including his dome closer to 7 and almost 3/4. That's going to be roughly, let's say, I don't know, 18.75 centimeters, and then closer to 19.5. And so that's probably a pretty good size for him. I'd say that's okay. Here he is up against Darwin, which is in a smaller scale, so that seems about appropriate. Now, let's do a quick question of the day. Which look for Mr. Freeze is your favorite? For me, it's the traditional animated series look, and not because it's from the animated series, just because I think that's a really good look for him. I do like the look of the one that I made the custom of a while back, but I don't think that was ever officially used anywhere. Okay, so let's talk about this. I don't think this is a bad look, generally speaking, in terms of the everything but the colors. I do think the colors on here are terrible. Mostly in the execution, frankly, but also I don't think he should have that much of that taupey gray color, this color, all over the place. Blues, blacks, whites, generally what you want to see on a Mr. Freeze, considering the icy nature of the character. This off-white grayish, weirdish color is just not a very good looking one. And on this figure, it's not like there's no detail paintwork anywhere. Look at the legs, for instance. They look so plasticky and cheap. All these tubes and hoses and little rivets and straps and buckles not painted, just big whitish, grayish tan spot. Torso, same thing, nothing painted. The light blue, same thing, nothing painted. You get the red there, the green there, the green there. It's really abysmal looking, frankly speaking. It does not look good. It looks so incredibly cheap to have not only these desaturated, ugly colors put together, but then to not paint any detail work on there at all. It's pretty horrible. The face and head sculpt, really good. We'll get to that in a second. I will say the other color version of this that was basically impossible to buy, even on their website, that looks way better, and that's the one I want personally. If anybody has a line on that, let me know, because I really, really want that retro-looking Mr. Freeze. I had the original figure that looked like that, and I would really like to buy one of them if I can. This version just doesn't look great. Having the tan here rather than just the straps, making it look like he's wearing some kind of shorts, looks pretty goofy. The tan all the way down here, just the tan everywhere, should be gone. Make it gray, make it something, make the blue bluer. They just needed to rework this look altogether. It looks so cheap and crappy with nothing painted and those ugly, glossy, crappy painted colors. It's really, really, really ugly. I think the body's horrible from the paint and coloring perspective. The sculpt is okay. Now, as far as the head goes, let's take the dome off and take a look at the head. I think they nailed it. There's a little bit of extra blue on his lips to bring him to life. His goggles are painted very nicely, the strap as well, and the sculpt is really good. I'm thoroughly satisfied with the head sculpt. The dome is acceptable. Sometimes he is drawn with the taller dome, so I don't mind it. I do wish the dome was a little bit shorter though, considering its relative narrow design. Like, it's almost the exact size of his head front to back, but then it does stick up quite high. So I think it could look a little bit more intimidating, a little bit more menacing. He has kind of a cone head look going on as a result of the dome, so could be better, but it's not terrible. So aesthetically speaking, sculpt, I'll take it. It's fine. Paint job, coloring, horrible. Does not look good. Will not look good on a shelf. It looks like a prototype, frankly. It looks like they just got this back and all the parts are just made out of different colored plastics that they were shooting already. So it doesn't look good. But the head is nice, so I'll give it a 6 for the sculpt and the head. But the paint job is really, really rough. Now, as far as accessories go, we get what might be the first gun ever released by McFarlane Toys. And everybody keeps saying, oh, we know why there's no guns. It's because of DC. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why. it's still as stupid, and it still affects what you're buying. So he does get his freeze gun, which is actually pretty nicely done. I'll take that. The gun has more paint on it than the figure does, detail-wise. The little icy effect, not great. The coloring's kind of weird, but it's a nice enough accessory. I'll take it. That's fine. Then you get the wonderful DC display stand in all its glory. That's wonderful. Very, very nice. And then we get a trading card, collector card, that is completely different than the figure. It's like, they didn't even get one that was close. It's not even one with the red spot on his chest, or sleeves, or anything. They took a Mr. Freeze, which is the most different design from this, other than the spider head version. I don't get it. I don't understand that at all. It's so, the things they do with this company are just mind-boggling. It's so strange. So accessory-wise, 5 out of 10. Gun's nice. That's about it. You could argue higher, but I don't want to. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. The dome obviously pops off, and then you can pose his head around, but because of the narrow nature of the dome, like you can see his goggles, his face is already overhanging. So you're not going to be able to pose his head very well because of the way they made the dome so skinny. Yeah, I can't do it. Can't do it. They kind of ruined it by making the dome that little, which is really unfortunate because that's not something you can just adjust as a collector. When I made my custom freeze, it took me a lot of internet searching to find a dome that would work. And you're not going to be able to resculpt this whole thing. So they just basically screwed it. You're probably going to want to take his dome off or just never try to pose his head because he can't look to the sides. Almost immediately, his goggles bounce into the plastic. So that's very unfortunate. For the shoulder, you do get the ball peg that actually has some play this time, so that's good. Shoulder pads are connected to the bicep, which is totally fine. You can raise the arm up. That works. I'll take it. That works just fine. Full rotation. Bicep swivel does get in the way a little bit, or it has a problem because these get in the way a little bit. Not much you can do about that, and it's probably not going to be that big of a deal for you. But the shoulder pads do work relatively well, so I'll take it. Double jointed elbow. It's more or less designed like an SH Figure Arts, so you don't have any pins. You have the internal joints rather than the molded joints like Hasbro does. These are not molded into the arm. These are built and then pegged into the bicep and pegged into the forearm. And you get decent enough range out of that, so that's pretty good. Wrists are on a ball hinge, so that's fine. Torso articulation. He leans back until the plastic bumps. He leans forward more than most. That's not too bad. I'll take it. And then the lower torso actually has significantly less range than normal. Maybe because of the height of the diaper and the belt being all one piece. Hard to say, but it does work compared to most McFarlane figures much better than usual. So the dome popped off. I like that overall. More straps not painted on this figure. Boy, a new paint job would bring this guy to life. At least the sculpt is there for those of you who don't mind modifying things. Alright, for the hips, full-on splits. So they still made the diaper really big, but they did cut it up a little bit higher for the hips, so that's good. Bringing the leg forward, good enough. The diaper is cut just right to give enough flex to bring the leg forward. This is almost sculpted like a spacesuit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this particular look for him, but it's okay. Anyway, the leg does go back relatively far. Thigh swivel, it takes some force, but there's some wiggle in there, so that's okay. Cake rating, it's a very heavy suit, but there's a little bit of something going on there, so I'll just give him a 4. It's not bad, but you're not going to really notice it because of the thickness of the suit. Double jointed knees, there are still pins. Not bad, good enough range, proportioning is pretty solid there. You do get a boot swivel on this guy, which is unusual, so if you like that, you got that. Ball hinge ankles, very little range relatively speaking, and heavy ratchets. It's very difficult to get him in a neutral pose where he can actually stand, and that's not helped by his curvy feet that are not perfectly flat on the bottom, and I don't think this is a good look for the feet. It's really chunky and ugly looking, and then the toe sticks off the top. It's just really, really weird. Toe hinge is really far back, very little range, and it's floppy. Not the best articulation we've ever seen, though also not the worst. So I'll give this guy a... Torso's nice, I'll give him that, but otherwise it's pretty darn limited. Hips are okay. 6 out of 10 for poseability. It's not great. Not great. Boy, does this figure need paint. Look at that. This whole system right here is just... Man, what happened? Okay, so time for the final rating on this guy. I do think the sculpt overall is okay. I could do without the moon boots, but whatever. It's not that big a deal. The dome being so skinny, making it impossible to pose his head and giving him a cone head look, not great. Finish on this figure is horrible. It's really just good for the sculpt. the gun effect, and the head is nice. So as much as I want to give this a better rating, and the other painted version might be enough to, like, at least it looks better, so that might help, but this guy's not going to get a high score, unfortunately. Even though he's like the most proportionate figure they've released, there are good things. I can't go higher than a 6. That paint job and not being able to pose his head, it's just really unfortunate. So yeah, I'm going to give him a final rating of 6. I want to give him a higher one, but I can't. That paint job is rough. There are so many details not painted, and the color that's there is so glossy and cheap and crappy looking. Goodness. Very unfortunate. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, but those are my thoughts. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down, and if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel, so make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.